Episode number 781. Make a difference in the world.
You're listening to the official BNI podcast with BNI founder and Chief Visionary Officer, Dr. Ivan Misner. Stay tuned for networking and referral marketing tips from the man who's been called the father of modern networking, along with suggestions and insights into getting the most from your membership in the world's largest networking organization, BNI.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the official BNI podcast. I'm Priscilla Rice, and I'm coming to you from Live Oak Recording Studio in Berkeley, California, and I'm joined on the phone today by the founder and the Chief Visionary Officer of BNI, Dr. Ivan Misner. Hello, Ivan. How are you, and where are you?
This week I did another Facebook Live, which was a global event, and I love doing the Facebook Live events because I get to talk to members all over the world, and I started doing them again earlier this year, and love doing them. If you ever see on my Facebook page that I've got one coming up, please come and join us because I really enjoy doing them, and I enjoy answering questions that BNI members and directors have all around.
That sounds like fun, actually.
It is fun. It's part of the fun stuff that I get to do at this point in my career.
Okay. Well, who do you have with us?
I have Becky Isbell on the podcast today. Love Becky. I've known Becky now for a number of years. She's the managing director for the BNI US Core, which is the BNI Global Regions. She currently manages 3 regions that consist of 116 chapters, almost 2,600 members. Becky's business model is simple. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I got to say, Becky is a close personal friend. I really enjoy spending time with her. And it is fantastic, Becky, to have you on the BNI podcast. Welcome.
Thanks, Ivan. I always enjoy getting to spend time with you, whether it's on a podcast or in person. We always have fun together, right?
We do. And sometimes there's a glass of wine involved.
Most all the time. And I'm trying to work that into our core values. Like that should be our unofficial core values. We've got to have fun together, right?
Absolutely. You got to keep the fun in the fundamentals.
That's exactly right. So, and we get to talk about one of my favorite things that I enjoy doing, which is the BNI Foundation and Business Voices today.
Yeah. And making a difference in the world. One of the things that I have said for many, many years is that you may not be able to make a world of difference, but you can make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. And our theme in BNI this year is we're better together. And so when you and I were chatting, it's like, we are better together, and together we can make a difference in the world. And you had a vision in 1998 that started, which now we call the BNI Foundation, that definitely has made the world a better place. So if you could tell us a little history about the BNI Foundation, how did it get started?
Well, Elizabeth, my late wife, and I, who you knew very well, Becky, in 1997, 1998, we were talking about, how can we, the business is finally starting to really grow. I joke around about being a 20-year overnight success, but it took 20 years for BNI to be really a global enterprise successful. And it started right around 1998 where we were doing pretty well. And Elizabeth and I always felt like we had an obligation to put back into the communities that we drew from. We had a personal obligation to support the communities that we drew from. And so we decided to, in 1998, create the BNI Foundation, which originally, here's a bit of trivia, was originally called the BNI Misner Foundation. And it was actually part of a community foundation in California, the California Community Foundation. We were a fund under the California Community Foundation. Today, BNI is a full 501c3 charitable foundation based out of Charlotte. For those of you outside the United States, that means it's a charitable foundation. And it operates out of Charlotte. But it started in 1998, and we decided that our focus would be children and education. And we did that with the help of the Board of Advisors. BNI, the International Board of Advisors, helped us come up with that theme because, a foundation, there's so much that needs to be done in the world. We had to pick a theme, and our theme was children and education. So that's sort of the history of how foundation got started.
I love it. And when I first met Elizabeth many years ago, she had me at education because, as you know, Ivan, both my parents, I come from a background of educators, and I have the utmost respect for educators because, on average, an educator spends $1,000 a year funding their classrooms. And so when I met Elizabeth and we were talking about this, I'm like, this speaks to my heart because I'm going to do a quote that she always says that I say in my weekly presentation with BNI is children are 20% of our population, but 100% of our future. And that speaks to me. And so when people ask, say, why are you so involved with the foundation? That's the reason. It's for our future. And I'm so glad that you and Elizabeth saw the vision to have children and educators that's how we wanted to pay back. And so
Yeah. Now,
definitely.
just so you know, Becky, not in all countries, because this podcast plays worldwide. Believe it or not all countries have that situation where the teachers spend that kind of personal money. There are a number of countries where they spend nothing. The government covers it all, which is nice. But they have other issues.
Right.
There are other issues. And
Yeah.
so in each country, whatever issue you have related to children and education, we want to help focus on.
Absolutely. And I love it. And so we have the BNI Foundation, which is great. We do the Givers Gain grants, which is $1,000 grant that we give. It is a grant that you apply for, just like you apply for a BNI membership, you apply for it. But Ivan, as you know, as much as I love the foundation, I get really fired up about Business Voices. And if you'll allow me, I would love to tell you some stories what we're doing here in Texas with Business Voices.
Yes.
So one of the biggest questions I ask is, okay, we understand what the foundation is, but what is this Business Voices thing? And this is where we really get to get involved with our community. Just like you said, Ivan, your vision was, how can we give back to our community? We will always accept donations, but it's even better when we can get out in our community and give back to our community doing a project. And so I think it was, Ivan, and correct me if I'm wrong, 2013, 14, when Elizabeth had the idea, is like, let's take this to the next step where we actually get chapters working out in the community.
Yeah, it was about at that point. Yeah. And she came up with the term Business Voices.
Yeah. And so it's getting us involved in the community. I say us as our BNI chapters, our families, getting us involved with an education theme in the community. And so I will tell you, here in Texas, we really embraced it. And we've got chapters who go out into communities, and it's easy. Find something tied to education children and do a project there. Do a service project. One thing that we do here in Texas is we call it Seats and Feets. So we do a huge sock and underwear drive for the local school districts and the homeless shelters here in the Central Texas area. And last year, we're still doing it. We're collecting it till the end of this month. But last year, we collected over 25,000 pairs of socks and underwear. And that is just BNI members asking each week, come bring a package of socks and underwear. And the impact that we have had is so huge because that's something that children need. They need those socks and underwear. So this is just one of the many things that we've done. Ivan, I don't know if you remember, about 10 years ago, we hosted a circus that came to town.
Mhm.
And we're able to provide children who may not have that circus experience. We were able to buy tickets and send them to the circus. And we also, it was a twofer because we got to do that as well as raise some money for the BNI Foundation. And so we do have a website. It's the bnifoundation.org that has how you can get involved with the foundation or Business Voices. And I always say that we as our community and BNI members fall into one of the D categories. There's the 3 Ds that I talk about. There's the donors. There are the people who will write a check and say, do what you can with this check. There's the doers, which falls into my passion, which is the Business Voices projects that we do. These are the people who get out and they want to do things in the community. They want to help the educators. They want to help the children. And then the 3rd D is the door openers. This is what we do in BNI. Wouldn't you agree, Ivan? We open doors. We ask for referrals. And so I'm still a member of a chapter, and I represent the BNI Foundation in my chapter. And oftentimes my ask for the week is, I would like a warm introduction to ABC. And this is the person, the door opener, who can get me into that school, or the door opener who I need to meet an educator. How can we help an educator? And every week, my BNI chapter or BNI members around me come through and they're able to open those doors for me. So that's the 3 Ds I love talking about: the doers, the donors, and the door openers. And with all that together, Ivan, wouldn't you say that we could be better together and make a difference in our world?
Oh, there's no question about it. And I love the concept of the 3 Ds. I've never heard that before. Doer, donor, door opener. What a brilliant concept. And that perfectly fits the BNI Foundation. You mentioned bnifoundation.org. If you want information on business voices, when you go to bnifoundation.org, there's a tab across the top called Business Voices. Just click on that. This is where sort of the rubber meets the road, wouldn't you say, Becky? I mean, this is where chapters can actually do an activity to support the community.
Absolutely. And 100% of the time, it's that other core value we talk about, which is fun. You're
Yeah.
having fun, you're giving back to your community. And to me, it's a win-win for everyone.
And you probably know this, Becky, but most of the members may not. Elizabeth came up with the idea of Business Voices based on a conversation that we had on Necker Island with Richard Branson. Do you know this?
I have heard the story, but
Yeah.
feel free to share it with our audience.
Well, he talked about the fact that he talked about the B team, the business team, and how business can make a difference in the world, and how business is able to act quickly if they just act. And from that, Elizabeth came up with this concept, literally on the back of a napkin in San Bernardino, California, right before she was about to be introduced. She came up with this idea of Business Voices, showed it to me on the back of a napkin. I said, wow, that's great. Then she walked up there and introduced the idea, and we fleshed it out afterwards. And that became the program that we see today, where chapters really take action locally to do things like you have done. And Becky, you've been an incredible leader in the Business Voices and BNI Foundation program, and I appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you. It truly is a passion of mine. Again, coming up with educators and grandparents and aunts and uncles. I was the first person in my family not to go into education. But it truly is a passion. And when you're passionate about something, it becomes easy and, again, fun. And I love anything that we can do to help our children and our educators.
Well, in many ways, you are an educator just within the business community, and I appreciate that. Any last thought before we wrap up?
Just thank you for your time today. Again, if you have any questions for our listeners, please visit the website, bnifoundation.org. There's everything about the foundation, Business Voices on there. Or if you want to reach out to me personally, you can. My email is available if you want it. But I'd love to help. I'd love to see maybe even a nationwide Business Voices Day that we could do and truly make an impact in our world, because we are better together.
I love that, and I agree completely. BNI Foundation is, in a way, BNI's best kept secret. So please feel free to share with all BNI members this podcast. We have made a difference in the world, all over the world, and have contributed millions of dollars to causes all over the world. And by the way, just for the record, at this point, the administrative fees, the percentage that's taken out of any donations, are zero, because the BNI organization pays all administrative fees.
I love it. So when you give a dollar goes right back out into our community.
That's exactly right. Becky, thanks for being on BNI Podcast. Over to you, Priscilla.
Thank you guys both for the great information. This podcast is sponsored by MeisnerAudioPrograms.com. These audio programs will provide you with the tools and the inspiration to powerfully enhance your BNI experience. So check out the great material available to you at MeisnerAudioPrograms.com, and then use the promo code IVAN50 for 50% off of everything. All of the proceeds go to the BNI Foundation. Thank you so much for listening. This is Priscilla Rice, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for another exciting episode of the official BNI podcast.
And can I just jump in and say, all the proceeds go to the BNI Foundation. Thanks, Priscilla.
You're welcome, Ivan. Thank you.